Daily Detroit is brought to you by the community. Support our work at patreon.com/dailydetroit.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to your Daily Detroit. It is Thursday, January 18th, 2024, and I'm Jared Stays coming to you from the Daily Detroit studio at Techtown. Joining me across the table, an old friend of the show, and frankly, welcome back to the show, and welcome to January, Robin Runyan. So good to talk to you.
Good to talk to you as well, Jared. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Look, development never stops in Detroit. We're going to talk about that, of course, but there's a few other things that we're going to get into because this is a new year. There's lots to look forward to.
There really is. You know, sometimes January can be kind of a downer. It's after the holidays and it can be kind of gray outside and cold and people are getting back to whatever. But it's a really exciting time to be in Michigan right now. Like, we just had like the best sports week ever, or at least in the past 10 years.
Easily 10 years.
Yeah. And I'm not like a super big fan of football. I've never been. But I am a big fan of people getting excited about sports for good reason. So I watch the games and it's really exciting. And I'm looking forward to the next playoff game this weekend. Like a lot of people, I was really reminded of my dad. He would have been so happy and super emotional after the game. And I think a lot of people felt that way too. It was a good weekend.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about the length of streak for the Lions is that so many long-suffering Lions fans suffered a very long time. And there's a lot of memories with that. Though I do think that the energy is definitely like exciting around this. Yesterday, I was at an event with Visit Detroit talking about the NFL draft and, you know, all the new hotels and all the new things that are happening. I think we set a record in amount of money for like tourism spending last year. There's just a lot on the up and up there.
Yeah, it's funny. I was thinking the other day about the timeline of what happens in Detroit. And I feel like once we hit St. Patrick's Day, then it'll be opening day, and then it'll be the NFL draft, and then it'll be May where we have all the, like, I feel like things are going to pick up really quick. And it's exciting that people are coming down here for the game. Obviously, a lot of people.
Yeah.
And spending their money down here, which is what we like to see.
Yeah, and news just on Wednesday that there's going to be a new way to watch some of these sports because, look, Robin, I've seen your activity online. I've seen your social media posts, and I got to say, you've had some words about watching these games.
Yeah, so I am a huge baseball fan. I'm not a fan of the MLB. I think they make it very difficult for their fans to watch games. It's basically been you watch it on Bally Sports on cable, and that's been the only way to do it for a few years, and it's really frustrating because most of us have all these other streaming services, but we don't necessarily have cable, and it's like, what can you get? I had YouTube TV for a while and they broadcast it, but then they yanked that because they just wanted it on cable. It was terrible. So now you can go into a little bit more detail about it, but it will be easier for us to watch games.
Yeah, the Diamond Sports, who owns Bally Sports, because Bally is like a licensed name. Mm-hmm. I was very confused at first, by the way, when Bally came on. I'm like, isn't that a fitness gym? But apparently it's like one of those names that has been bought and reused for things over the years. Diamond Sports has been in a lot of financial trouble lately. Mm-hmm. So Amazon has stepped in with financing, considering that they're at bankruptcy. And that means that there's going to be a lot more infrastructure put to this. I've read multiple reports where Amazon Prime, the price isn't determined, but watch it through the Amazon infrastructure, which, as anyone who's tried to watch Bally Sports online or the stream stuff, you pay a lot, and it just has not worked out very well, like technically problems. So I feel like Amazon brings a lot of dollars to the table, and this town is sports crazy, and I feel like the people will be willing to pay those dollars, especially if they get a good product out of it.
Absolutely. I love just having the game on, if it's on TV, so I can see it. I usually listen to the radio. Honestly, I usually have the radio broadcast on anyway because I prefer baseball. There's something about baseball that the radio broadcast is great. I'm excited to actually watch the Tigers this year because I think they'll be getting better. And now we have a way to watch them and it'll be a lot easier.
I do want to acknowledge the listeners who are right now remembering the days when you used to watch the Tigers over broadcast television. And I remember watching on Channel 4 in the Roaring Tiger in the little hoop or hula hoop or whatever it was, like the logo, and would, you know, swing the bat if they won, or would come out with a heat pad on its head when it lost. That's some nostalgia.
George Kell and Al Kaline.
Yeah. Those were the best. So,
for sure.
I think brighter days ahead for watching. And as I've said before, I am looking forward to the arrival of Jason Benetti in the broadcast booth. I think he's going to bring a lot to the TV broadcast, even if you're still going to turn it and listen to the radio, because I do love Dan Dickerson too.
I'll give him a listen. I'll give him a shot.
So let's do our popular segment of where we've been. Now, I have been knee deep in work, but you have been out and about a bit and exploring town. So why don't you tell us a little bit about where you've been?
Okay, so there's a new place that has opened in Oak Park, and it is called the Oak Parker. You have to be looking for it. It's at 11 Mile and Coolidge, next to the oil change place. It's a white building. And at first, I wasn't sure about going because the menu looked like a lot of German fare, and that's really not my thing. But we went for brunch, and they had a lot of brunch options. So I got the Yes Chef omelet, which if you watch The Bear, you know what I'm talking about. So it has Bourgeon cheese inside and potato chips sprinkled on top.
Okay.
It was very good. And I had a salad that had these marinated tomatoes that were very, very, very good. So, yep, I'm a fan, and I'm happy it's there. Also, coming soon, I saw them post on social, I think last week or this weekend. Pie Sci is opening up a location on 9 Mile. It's right at like the Oak Park, Ferndale border pretty much. And so a lot of people are really excited about that. It's going to be, I think, in the next month or so that they're going to open up there. And there's also a place across the street called Hanson's Hall, which I believe is beer. They're getting their building ready too. So there's going to be a lot happening in that area.
I think Pie Sci is going to kill it up there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. People are ready.
It's like a total market / offering fit there. Because Pie Sci, if people don't know, they offer very creative pizzas.
Yeah.
What is one of your favorites? Like for me, the one that there was one that I had that was like falafel or something like that, like full Mediterranean. So yeah, there's just like a whole bunch of them. And like my roommate's all about them. They're really good, but it's definitely different than just like your standard pepperoni.
Yeah, and it's funny. There's been a few places like Rocco's open down the street, and that's pretty standard pizza, but it's really good. It's really big too. And then Pizza Cat opened as well in Oak Park. So a lot of pizza action up there.
Now, off air, we were talking about something we're going to ask the listeners for. This is a unique challenge, friends. And Robin, I want you to lay it out because you're the one in need of this. I have affection for this. I have tried this before. I enjoy this, but this is near and dear to your heart. So I'm going to give you the microphone.
Thanks. So I go down to Mardi Gras, to New Orleans a lot, and I'm going to be going in a few weeks. And during Mardi Gras, they serve king cake. And starting January 6th through, Fat Tuesday. And I have tried looking for it up here, and I have not succeeded. One of my friends made it for me last year, which was great. But I've been looking for a place that actually makes it. For those of you who don't know, king cake is like a ring, and best described as like a cinnamon roll in a way, because there's cinnamon inside usually, and cream cheese. There's a lot of different fillings now, but that's kind of the standard. And then you have frosting and the green, gold, and purple sprinkles and a little plastic baby that is baked inside there as well. Some people have mentioned different variations that might be available up here. I'm really looking for that like New Orleans king cake. So if anybody knows a bakery that makes them, please contact the show, contact me. I will stand in line for it.
dailydetroit@gmail.com or 313-789-3211. Definitely want to hear about that because I would like to find out that too. Because in my experience, I've only known people who would like order it online and have it shipped. It's still not the same.
Yeah, no, and it's also extremely expensive to do that. I don't know if I'm willing to shell out $100 for a cake.
That's right. It was like, if I remember correctly, it was over $100, and that was some years ago before the pandemic. So
yeah, while I'm down there, we'll eat it all 4 days that I'm down there. Also, I go down there with one of my best friends from childhood, Tracy, and it is her birthday today. So happy birthday, Tracy, and I will see you in a few weeks.
Woohoo. Yeah, actually, if you're a member, I'd love to know your birthday. We'll do a happy birthday shout out for members as well. That would be a good thing. So let's jump into some development stories. Specifically, you have 5 that you say people should watch over on Urbanize Detroit, detroit.urbanize.city. I want to talk about them because we did a little bit of like a heading into 2024 thing. But now that we're here, what are you thinking? What are the stories to watch?
The big one this year, and everybody kind of knows it, and everybody says it's going, has it as their lead for their top stories, but it really is. It's Michigan Central when it opens this June, I believe it's going to be. I mean, this is going to be worldwide. This is not just local media thing. This is big, and it's going to be really exciting just for people to get in there and see it and have all these memories flooding back. So, I mean, that's the big one.
Oh, 100%. And I've actually been talking with some people about getting experts on Michigan Central and been working on Michigan Central on the show to talk about it because there is so much demand. I mean, look, for years, not just years, decades, this building was the stock photo, the image, and images are really powerful. And to see that change, somebody posted like, oh, abandoned train station in Detroit, some random page, right? Because
I saw that.
Yeah. And then everyone just like suplexed them in the comments, and deservedly so. And it's really cool to see Detroit have something like that to be really proud of.
Yeah, I saw that exact post. That people were like, wait, no, like it doesn't look like that anymore.
I feel like the algorithm thinks we share values, Robin.
Yeah, I mean, my algorithm is all buildings. So shocking.
So what's next?
Since we're in Techtown right now, something very nearby is the big Henry Ford project. It's going to break ground here this year. We'll be watching that for quite a while because some of it will start the new medical tower across the lodge and the research facility. Those should break ground this year. And then in subsequent years, there will be residential and all this stuff. And this will be huge. So we're going to start to see things happening over here.
I thought it was interesting, the public comments around this one. I don't think I had a chance to talk about this on air, but the public comments were so strong because there's a lot of people who are worried about the idea that there aren't places being built for families in Detroit. But some people were saying, oh, well, we need to put single family housing or something. And I can't help but think, as I walk by that lot all the time, how ridiculous it would have been. The community comments were like, it just doesn't make any sense, especially in this neighborhood. Not saying that there can't be single family housing in the rest of Detroit. This is a very big place, but it doesn't make sense. And also, maybe it gives us a chance to talk about the idea that, full on single family housing and affordable are two things that are at opposition right now in this market, right?
Yeah,
like sure. You can't build affordable single family housing that isn't an apartment at this point. At least that's how I understand it.
Yeah, and we're kind of in a place that's surrounded by neighborhoods that have single family houses over by Henry Ford Hospital. And obviously the North End is right here and going up into Virginia Park. So, I mean, there's plenty of that around here, but building it here, no, we need density too. So we need people on the street moving around, living and working here.
I think those hundreds of units are going to be transformative. And I also wonder too if it'll transform the conversation around things like Target, which since the last time we talked, we learned that Target is not coming into that development, even though the developer says that they have a lease. When the big company says they're not doing it, it's a good chance they're not doing it. I'm not writing off the idea of City Target ever being in Detroit. I actually think there's some places it could go and would be interesting. But what does that make you think? I know it's a little, I'm surprising you here, but what does that make you think of the development in general?
We actually had one comment from a reader. I did kind of a year wrap up, some of the bigger stories. And he was like, what about all the stuff that was announced in Midtown that hasn't happened? Like the Mid and this one on the corner of Mac and Woodward. And all these kind of bigger things that are just stagnant. There's things happening around there, but there are definitely some holes that haven't happened. So I know it's been difficult the past few years. Detroit's difficult anyway. I think we should move our attention away from the Target aspect of this and into like the funding and like what can we really do now?
That makes sense. So what's next on your list?
The next one I have is something that you can kind of see in progress. If you go downtown on Broadway, this whole block is going to be transformed. It's right across from what used to be
Punch Bowl Social?
Punch Bowl Social, that's it.
Yeah.
And it's a new comedy club, right?
Yeah, it's actually, that is in line to open up real soon, actually.
Okay.
That's the place by Mike Epps.
Yeah. So it's across from that. There's a few buildings right in the middle of the block. They're going under like one big development. There's going to be some facade work, and then they're building a 9-story building behind them. There's the Harvard Square Center right next to it, where Bedrock is going to change that into apartments. And on the corner, you have a hotel there that Method Development is working on. And a lot of these, there's actually work happening. Like Method Development has been posting construction pictures, and so has Kramer Design Group. And the stuff on Broadway, I was down there recently and saw a lot of scaffolding. So stuff is happening.
Yeah, and it's in an area where people can find it very quickly. I was thinking about this when I was at this event going, there's so much to the Detroit story people don't know, but I think for the rest of the region, Detroit is really defined by those few blocks around the stadiums. And I think anything that you can do to connect things and add another block here and add another block there will help not just improve Detroit, but improve the perception of Detroit, because I think that's the snapshot a lot of people draw of the city.
Yeah, and it's also like one of the ways people get from the stadiums to Greektown, like if they're parked there or they're hanging out over there. And Greektown's going to transform in a way too, like they're going to be doing all that road work on Monroe to make it a little bit more pedestrian friendly. So they're really working on areas of downtown that could use it. And next up is something that I wrote about a lot last week. We saw some news at the end of the year about the hotel that's going up next to Huntington Place. And now we have a lot more renderings and Jared,
a cornucopia of renderings.
This is going to be
Urbanize.
something, It's pretty spectacular what they're planning on doing. It's a big project. It is, $400 million.
And I want to give kudos, by the way, because of all the people who talk about this stuff, there is no doubt that you have the most amount of renderings with this thing and show off just what this actually is going to be, because it's going to be a very substantial project and it's going to be visually interesting too.
Yeah, so the community benefits process for this project started last week, which is where the developers engage with the communities around it, which is kind of interesting for this one because you have the riverfront towers right there and you have a few other places that are more apartment-y. So I feel it's a little bit different than some of the other community benefits process. But yeah, they had their first presentation last week, and these things are pretty incredible. They're really taking a part of downtown that doesn't have a lot of walkability right now and turning it into something that will. So you're going to have what a lot of people have wanted for a while, a riverfront restaurant. You will have dining. You can sit outside and eat something or drink something and look at the river. It's going to be nice. You have a lot of little kind of pocket parks that they're adding in because there's the residential tower that's going to open right next to it next month. I think they're supposed to. You're adding a lot of people into the neighborhood as well as giving people at the convention center someplace to stay. So part of that is 2nd Avenue is going to extend.
Oh.
Yeah, it's cut off right now, but they're going to extend it. You'll have kind of a tunnel underground and a skyway over 2nd Avenue to connect the hotel to the convention center. The rendering for 2nd Avenue is really something.
It is. And I'm looking at this thing and it makes me think of many of the newer urban developments I have seen in other cities. It's really top notch.
Yeah. And sometimes I read comments, definitely on my page, but sometimes on social media. And when I posted some of these on Twitter, which I still call it Twitter.
Because it's always going to be Twitter. I don't post on. You know what? If it were Twitter, I would still post there. But follow us on Threads,
Yes,
Daily Detroit.
Absolutely. I posted some of these last week and someone was very skeptical that it would happen. This is happening. Like Sterling Group has been doing this work. Like they're opening a new 25-story tower right next door. Like we will see this. It's going to take a few years, but it's going to happen.
It's interesting to see the built-in skepticism of every single project. When really, in some ways, we should be skeptical of specific projects or specific developers.
Yeah, for sure. But they're adding like a lot of greenery. And like right now, it's just concrete down there. It's just, it will be for cars like 2nd Avenue, but they're going to, a lot of it's going to be more like pedestrian friendly as well. So
it's a huge walkway. So if you look at the rendering, one side, like there's a median, but that one side of the median is all for pedestrians and bikes and whatever. And then the other side is a very understated 1-lane each direction road that is 2nd Avenue to kind of connect everything together. And I swear it looks like something out of New York.
Yeah, it's really pretty. You can go to the community benefits meetings if you want to learn more about the project. You can dial in and listen to them on Tuesdays because they're going to be going throughout the month and into next month. And hopefully we should see this break ground before summer.
And then finally, I am peeking over here and seeing the list. We're talking transit because, I mean, that seems to be the recurring theme. Is 2024 the year of transit, Robin Runyan?
Maybe. I think a lot of people would really like that. I put the story as transit momentum. There's been a lot of good news lately about transit in the area, and we don't get that very often. So like the RTA taking over the Q lines. So we might get a better chance at federal funding, in the future for possible expansion. Oakland County really expanded their bus service this year. We're going to see bus rapid transit on Jefferson Avenue this year. And the big thing that's really captured the hearts of some of our readers is the People Mover, which is fascinating to me.
Well, as I said in the wrap up with the Detroit Policy Conference, I never had expanding the People Mover or even adjusting the People Mover. Look, I have a special place in my heart for it, but I was not like, this is the future. And all of a sudden, not only is there like some reinvigorated talk about, a process to do something and dealing with the fact that it's got some aging issues that need to be worked on, but it has captured the attention of regular people much more so than other things. Why do you think that is, Robin? Is it just because it's elevated or it's a cultural icon or what is it?
It's been around a while. Some people think it's not used very much and it just runs around this 3-mile loop around downtown. Some people think it's really for events. Some people don't really see the point of it because it's not connected to other transit very well. So we put the question out last week, like, where would you want it to go? Like, if this was going to expand, where do you want to see it? And I received, well, there's a lot of comments on the story. A lot of people are ready for this right now. They got the plans together.
I figured there'd be a lot of fantasy maps.
I did receive a map that I will likely post. I also received a really cool email from a reader who talked about some ideas just to get people on it again, like just using it and writing it in ways that it's not being used right now. So that would be like making a tour of downtown through the People Mover. So maybe like an app or a headset or something. So when you're going by a building, you can see what it is. Because if you ride with other people, oftentimes they don't know the buildings. You're often pointing them out to them. So that could be one way to get people on there. Maybe have a 5K around the People Mover loop. Because it's 3 miles. And so you could have this 5K through downtown and have people like supporting it, like riding the People Mover at the same time. Just kind of a fun idea. Another one that seems like kind of a no-brainer is a pub crawl.
Now, to be fair, I remember back in the day, maybe 20 years ago, I remember one. But that was a while ago, and that was a while ago.
Yeah, there hasn't really been anything official. So.
The Anchor Bar was still the Anchor Bar.
Sure.
As we all knew the Anchor Bar when that was a thing.
Yeah. And then just partnering up with parking places so people actually know where to park to get on the People Mover. Because like there's all those lots in Bricktown, but it's sometimes pretty unclear what the price is, how long they can be there, is it even open, things like that. So having like parking options near the stations a little bit easier for people. We'll see. I mean, it's kind of fun that people are talking about it.
It's mind-blowing that people are talking about it, but it does capture people's attention. Now, I'm sitting here going, what could I do as a special People Mover long length episode? Like go on there and write it. Jer's tour of the People Mover. We could have Robin's tour of the people. We could just do an unofficial thing. They're going to get so mad at me because when I do this, people get mad at me.
So back when people were doing a lot of Facebook Lives and I was at Curbed at the time, I did a Facebook Live from the People Mover, which some of the reception around there, like around the Joe Louis Arena and Huntington Place now,
little sketch.
The reception isn't great and it kind of thinks you're in Canada. So it wasn't the best Facebook Live that was ever done, but it was fun.
I've always wanted to be that voice. That's always been one of my hidden goals. Be like, welcome to the Millender Center station.
You can do that. That could be another thing, like get people to be, guest announcers for a week or something.
We should, you know what? Maybe the People Mover is just going to become a cult favorite.
Sure. Let's do it.
One of my favorite shirts that's sitting in a closet somewhere is actually a Detroit People Mover shirt, but it says Detroit People Mover, but it's a turntable.
There you go. Have a party.
Oh my gosh, that would be amazing. So I was thinking about that with the CTA Santa.
Yeah.
The Chicago Transit Authority has a Santa that rides on, like, that seems like a very cold assignment to me, but rides on like a train sleigh. So
yeah,
it would be interesting to see, and it'd be interesting to see where it should go. Now, in your mind, if there were a couple of places that you would like to add service to via the People Mover, what would you do in your heart of hearts?
So I think since there's a lot going on the West Riverfront, past the Riverfront Towers, you're going to have the Ralph C. Wilson Park next year, and that's going to be a huge attraction to people. So I think connecting that would be nice. It's a little bit of a stretch. LCA, like, can we have something closer to the Little Caesars Arena? That would be nice.
Some would argue Ford Field.
Sure. And I mean, if we're going out a little bit further, I mean, Eastern Market would be nice, but that is also a little bit of a stretch.
Well, that gets into the question of, okay, what is the future of the People Mover versus the future of the Queue Line?
Right.
And what are those things going to do? And I think that's a question that we have yet to solve. Before we go, a quick little footnote that I do not want to forget, because you actually went and did a tour on it. Perennial Corktown, that is a thing.
It is a thing along Michigan Avenue in Corktown. It is a new build. It's right across from the
Plum Health Direct Primary Care, DPC. Thank you to your sponsorship, Plum Health Direct Primary Care.
Across from the old ballpark, bringing like 200 apartments to the neighborhood. There's obviously a lot of apartments in the big building right there. There's also 7 townhouses behind it that are a little bit bigger. They also built a parking structure kind of to the side and off street. There's going to be a coffee place as well.
Harrah's, I believe.
Yes.
Yemeni.
Yep. And then there's another building there, and they are turning it into lofts. They just started construction in the fall, and they're working on that now.
Well, and one little side note I would add is there's supposedly a Corktown market for like some light groceries and food. So that's always been a thing. Although I will say that when I lived on that side of the world, Honeybee is undefeated.
Go. Absolutely.
No one should I mean, it's always great to have a walkable market, and I'm all for a walkable market. Don't get me wrong. Mm-hmm. But if you're over on the near west side at all, in fact, if you're anywhere and you're looking for good like Mexican stuff, anything like that, Honeybee is undefeated.
Absolutely.
All right, Robin Runyan, always good to talk to you.
Good to talk to you too. Thanks for having me.
You can, of course, read more at detroit.urbanize.city, always keeping up with things. And thank you for sharing your time and talents with us, Robin Runyan.
Absolutely. Can't wait to see you again.
With that, I am Jairus Days. Thank you so much for listening to your Daily Detroit. Remember to drop 5 stars on your favorite podcast app. And remember that you are somebody, and we'll talk tomorrow.